You really don't have any more questions for Schwess and I?
I have a lot of questions for you guys. I just don't know how long you want this episode to be.
All right, lightning round real quick. What do you got?
All right, lightning round. How many kids do you want?
4.
0.
4, Wes? 0. All right, good for you. All right, you said 4. Do you want to biological or adopt? Or either or?
I'm open to either. I'd prefer biological, but I'm open to either if for some reason we can't.
I understand that. Same. If you had the opportunity, and yeah, you're going to be on a recorded line. If you had the opportunity to be pregnant for your fiance, like carry that birth and birth it for her, would you?
Absolutely.
Does it come out the urethra, or do they like C-section?
C-section. Let's be anatomically. Yeah, it is what it is. We're dealing with what you got.
Uterus and all. Don't have one of those, but I
We're
suppose
implanting
I would.
it. We're
Ain't no
implanting
day
one.
about birthing a baby. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the Life Midwest podcast. We have quite of a weird intro for everyone here today. As you might notice, I'm not Kevin, but with me today is my co-host Kevin Palmer, and we have a very special guest host. Are you a star, Bridget?
Yes.
So we have a very special guest star, Bridgette Sheezy, here on the podcast for another installment of the My Friend series.
Hello.
How are you doing today, guys?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
What's your last name? Sheezy?
Sheezy.
Sheezy.
Yeah.
Sheezy. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Got it. I feel like every time I hear that, I just want to go, wah, blah, 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 like after I hear it afterwards. So I just,
As you should. I really need to start having theme music when I'm walking in places. The fact that I don't is just kind of insulting. It really hurts.
I just want to be the first person to tell you, you have nobody but yourself to blame that you don't have background music walking in everywhere.
That's
I'm
true.
aware.
You got a cell phone in your pocket. Make it happen.
And what is stopping you from just blasting a boombox next to you at all times?
I just thought of something. Did you know that whatever song you set your alarm as is your actual theme song? Because that is the start of every episode.
All right, well,
Wow.
I got to change my alarm sound. Not doing that anymore.
I quite like my alarm song now.
What is it, Wes?
It's oh crap. Give me a second. I don't know what its name is.
You don't even know it?
It's a song by Dreamville came out with an album. That's like J. Cole's record album. I think it's Under the Sun is what it's called. It's like a really good wake up song. And it has like JID and a couple other rappers on it.
Jaren Ben.
No, Jaren Ben's not on it.
By the way, I'm listening to this song by Dreamville, and it's very befitting you.
Nothing new under the sun. The beginning part is just excellent. It's like they sample I don't know who it is. It's like some R&B song they sample, and then it just drops into like a really fat rap song.
I'm not gonna lie, man. If you think the beginning of this is R&B, I think you and I need to go over some music stuff together.
So it's like Motown soul, I guess. R&B's.
There you go. Motown's, that's better.
But doesn't R&B kind of encompass all of that?
I'm sorry, what is this called again?
It's Dreamville, Under the Sun, featuring J. Cole, DaBaby, and Lute.
Oh, does it not have JID in it? Wow, I'm wrong. Even it's the song I listen to 350 some days a week. Or a year.
Does not have JID in it.
That's not an R&B at all. Yeah.
It's funny because the way the song starts is just a bunch of dudes eating sandwiches.
Oh, the video might be different from just what I have on Spotify. It starts off with
That's what I have. I'm listening to Spotify.
it's like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
Miss me.
It's more
Yeah, it starts the
blues.
same way. Yeah.
More blues than R&B. Yeah.
I'm gonna link it in the podcast description because this is very fitting you, Wes. Very befitting you.
Another song that I have sprinkled in there for my alarm is "To the Morning" by Don Fogelberg. It's like super old school, like chill, mellow, contemporary rock, and it is also an excellent song to wake up to. So peaceful.
You're making it really hard to make this episode about Bridgette. We're making this about like music you wake up to instead.
Okay, but listen,
I don't know who
side
started
note,
that, but
I don't know if you've heard of this great song, but it's called "Keep Riding" by You're Pretty, and you should totally link it.
Okay.
do not do that. I forbid you as your podcast partner to do that. I hope you listen to it, but do not link that.
All right, deal.
You're no fun. How am I supposed to get this out to the masses?
Well, you can keep this part in the episode. Just don't link it.
Just don't link it. Oh my gosh.
Safety
Yeah,
first. Wait, is this a family-friendly podcast?
Fuck no.
Okay,
Sort
there
of,
you go.
though.
Yeah, then, yeah,
honestly,
just-
it kind of is. I mean, profanity doesn't make it family friendly.
Or not censorship doesn't make it.
Listen, all I'm gonna say is when I upload this to YouTube and it
Okay.
asks me if it's for kids or not, I say it's not for kids.
So it would not be family-friendly.
Yes.
We had like a whole family on the podcast. Guarantee it's family friendly.
Just because one episode is PG does not make the other 49 PG.
I can see the future where Lenny is listening to this episode and he is just losing his shit over this argument.
Why wasn't I there?
I don't know who you are, Lenny. My bad. I didn't mean to take this from you.
Lenny is a frequent guest on the podcast. Shows how much you listen to us.
I thought I stated in the beginning that I have listened to a few episodes, but mostly just I listened to your guys' episodes. I've listened to the Ukraine episode, and I have listened to, like, when I said your guys', I mean the with friends episodes, and I've listened to your guys' background episodes, and the Ukrainian episode. And it is hard because I was talking to Wes a little bit. Actually, I was listening to it with Wes, and we were talking about the frustration on having to keep things within a certain time limit because it is a podcast. You can't put the entire 3 hours of conversation you actually had about it into it. So that is a frustration too of what you can keep in and what you do just have to cut out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. One thing that we're not going to cut out today, though, is your first memory.
Phew.
How's that for a segue, Wes?
Oh my God.
That was excellent. Wes approves.
The literal oldest thing I think I can remember was my brother riding on a bicycle, pulling me in one of those red riding or red flying wagons or whatever they were called. And I was like little 4. And my parents have this, I mean, it's a steep hill ish when you're a child being pulled on a wagon from a kid in a bike. And there's an edge to this driveway, and the edge is padded with large rocks covered in just ivy, so you can't really see where those rocks are. So when you're falling into them because your brother pushed the wagon over into the rocks, you can't really plan your descent because everything just looks like ivy. So all I really remember is riding and then getting pushed over and falling into it, and that's my first memory.
Have all of our lady my friend episodes been their brothers traumatizing them as a young age for their first memory? Like,
I'm trying to remember. Mercedes was the birthday cake.
there was another one that we decided not to choose because it was like her being traumatized. I'm fairly certain.
Her mom was giving birth to her brother. Oh, I see what you did there. Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I rest my case then, I guess.
Yes. Agreed.
Frickin' brothers.
I have 2.
Frickin' brothers. Bridgette, how many you have 2 brothers you said? Are
Yeah,
you
2
the
older.
oldest, middle, youngest?
Nah, I'm the youngest, yeah.
Okay. You the baby.
Yeah. Everyone says I was spoiled, but that's just because they didn't have to live it.
Do you feel it? I was going to say, do you feel like you actually were spoiled? I mean, a lot of it's easy for a lot of older siblings to say that, but do you actually feel like you were in introspect?
So that's a catch-22 question for me because my parents were divorced, And my mom and dad had a very different living situation, I'll say, than what my mom was able to do. And because I did have a lot of opportunities. So I feel like I was spoiled in a general based on an average person sense, but not because I was the youngest and not necessarily in comparison to my two older brothers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But no, I was technically spoiled. Absolutely. Well, like, because I'm a horrible person and my memory's awful. I know Wes, but Kevin, are you from a home of divorce as well?
I am not, actually.
Ooh, what's that like?
Yeah. It's weird because your parents fight all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. But like,
no, in a more serious sense, I know that it's definitely, it makes me feel like the abnormal one, with so many of my friends being children of divorce, I should say. And you don't really know what that feels like or looks like, so you can just kind of only sympathize with your friend or with whoever you're talking with about it. So in a way, in a sense, it almost felt alienating because I think I only had two of my friends growing up. Their parents were together. Everyone else were divorced in high school.
Yeah, actually, a good friend of mine, when they were growing up, their parents also weren't divorced, but fighting was there. But she does say whether we were talking, it was one day we were talking, it was her and me and my husband, and we were talking about our wonderful childhoods. And she had kind of made the comment that she almost feels like she wishes that something would have happened to her. It's not like really, but like just so that she could understand people, because she didn't have those experiences. She didn't go through any of that. So it is harder for her to really get on that level and understand what people went through in that sense, to a certain regard.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So does, I guess, is it fair to say that you obviously are a child of divorce?
Yes.
Talk about that with, as far as from your perspective as like a young child, like single digits.
Honestly, I didn't care. The divorce didn't affect me at all. My parents were separating and they were divorced, like solidly divorced, which is a process, before I was 1 year old.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was a baby. So there was no real comparison to anything else. The thing really that was harder for me was my dad had a stable partner my entire life. Still, they're together. My mom went a different direction in life, and that was hard because I attached to those people, especially because they would be living with us for years, and then they wouldn't be staying around because it didn't work out with them. So I think honestly that was the biggest struggle for me with the divorce, was just having that like almost revolving door of people throughout my growing years of being alive.
And do you think that kind of numbed you to like I don't know if you obviously had like friends come and go. I think most people say,
Yeah,
most people do have friends
absolutely.
come and go through their adolescence. Do you feel like that kind of numbed you to that when it happened?
Yes and no. I think that generally, if somebody wants out, it is what it is for me. I've never really had it not be more of like I've never had it really be a big thing when like a friend or something wants to just kind of bow out. It's usually relatively, maybe we have a disagreement, but it's a quiet stepping away.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, so I've never really had to have an issue with that, I guess.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Did you have a lot of friends growing up at early childhood or into teen years?
Early childhood was definitely more of a struggle. Both of my brothers were very well known and not necessarily always for great things. So I was always generally living in like the shadow of being XYZ's little sister. And that was just annoying. So yeah, early childhood, there was more of a struggle because my brothers and I weren't really close. And I also did move. So I think it was like fifth grade. I went from being in a Catholic school, which I have thoughts. I went from a Catholic school to a public school, and that really was hard that's what stopped me from having more friends in my early childhood years, because I just lost those friends when I moved. I just didn't keep up with them. And then I had to restart, and it was just a whole thing. But after 8th grade, it was a completely different story. Once I hit high school, I just didn't have a problem with it anymore.
Really? Tell me more.
Yeah. I think it was more of just my attitude towards the whole thing. When I stopped caring and was vocal about the fact that I didn't care about people, for some reason it made people try harder. So that's kind of how I ended up getting a lot of friends, or not a lot of my superficial friends, I should say, in high school that I don't know, remember, or keep up with now. But as far as my closer friends, those are mostly people who I did befriend before 8th grade. The people that I really keep up with are generally those people. Everybody else, like, there's a few, maybe 1 to like less than 5 other people that I keep up with from my high school days that I wasn't friends with before then. But yeah, but I think I just had a lot of connections because it was very, very superficial and just surface level, like the popularity, what you need to be seen as kind of thing.
What about those particular friendships made it superficial? Was it just like, oh, we're all in this environment, we need to kind of stick it out together, or what do you think that was?
It was more that yes, it was like, hey, we don't like the same things and we are near each other in proximity, so let's not like the same things together. And like the negativity was a lot of my friendships were based in negativity. And that is another reason why I have changed a lot of those friendships too, and moved away from them. But yeah, it was just really bonding over bad things and staying bonded, doing and continuing bad things. So it didn't make sense to continue it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Did you go to high school around here in the area?
No, I was actually just about to say, probably a big reason why I don't and why I was able to get away from that is because grew up in Youngstown, Ohio. That's about 3 hours away from here.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Where about is Youngstown?
It's right on the border, like in the middle of Ohio on the border. It's for Kent State or University is like 45 minutes north of it. Sharon, PA is like 30 minutes east of it and southeast of it. Pittsburgh probably would be a better one for anybody who doesn't know tiny towns. Pittsburgh's about an hour to an hour and a half away from it, southeast.
And what year did you graduate?
To high school, 2011.
2011. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. How did you end up in Toledo?
I went to BG, Bowling Green State University. That's where I graduated from.
Oh, okay. All right.
And then I would almost need to get permission to share it on something like this, but I met my husband through circumstances. So he was going to UT shortly after I graduated from college. And since he was staying in UT, we just moved to UT and I just stayed living around here. And then we got engaged and did the whole married thing. So it just seemed to make sense. And then we just moved back actually recently last year.
You guys were literally the Battle of I-75. That's so cute.
Yeah.
For those who aren't familiar with the area, Bowling Green and University of Toledo are, I guess, rivals, we'll say, for lack of a better term. And so, like, whenever like the football teams play each other or like the basketball teams play each other, it's the Battle of I-75 because it's literally just 20 miles of I-75 separate the two cities. So.
Yeah. The big saying for BG was "Tuck Folito."
Ah, I love it.
Because we can't chant swear words, but we can do that.
It sounds close enough anyways.
Exactly. So whatever.
Yeah, they can get away with that one, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So you went to BG. What did you study there?
Psychology is what I got my degree in. I got a bachelor's of arts in psychology with a minor in general business management.
Very nice. And was that so that you could run your own practice, or what was the goal there?
I changed my mind halfway through college, or quarter of the way through college. I got accepted to BG into the business PreLaw program. And I was going to go through that, and then I was actually going to go into law school. But as I was going through the program, I talked to a couple of different professors who said that their experience was law schools really shy away from people who have undergrad degrees in pre-law, because undergrads don't necessarily have the same up-to-date resources and information. So they kind of have to end up untraining or unteaching you the things you've learned that were wrong.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So when I kind of learned that, I was like, okay, well, I'll just do general business. And then I'm bad at math. So that didn't work. So I fell back into psychology, because that actually was what I wanted to grow into when I was a kid. That's what I wanted to go into.
So that passion is rooted back to when you were a kid. Talk more about that.
It's because of everything I went through. Like my parents being divorced, my mom, the revolving door, and she really, I mean, her and I aren't very close. I had a relationship with my dad, but I mean, I have a good relationship with my dad and my stepmom, but there's still struggles there. And my brothers and I had struggles, and addiction really, really, really runs hard in my family. And I wanted to understand why people did the things they did. Whenever something bad would happen to me, I guess not my first instinct, but my instinct really was try to understand why they did it. Because for some reason, if I understood why they did it, it would allow me to move on from it. Even if I don't care or agree with why they did it, even if why they did it doesn't make sense to me, if I know why you did it and I understand that it makes sense to you why you did it, it helps me move on from it. It's just a weird thing I've always had. So trying to learn the behaviorisms and literally why people do the things they do, even if they don't know why they do it, was always a big interest of mine.
That's fascinating, and that's profound. Like understanding others brings you peace. Like that's that. I think that's super intellectual. I think that is something that a lot of people could learn from. Not to say that like knowing everything justifies everything, but I mean it helps you definitely, I think, cope better with the world around us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. 100. At least for me, that's been my experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Though I do have a tendency to fall into the devil's advocate, which my friends aren't always super thrilled with, though. So, sorry about that. My bad. So, Wes, growing up, how did you handle those types of things?
You know, I think I wish I could say that I was as intelligent and wanted to be like, but why? You know, tell me why. I was a very emotional. I was a very emotional kid growing up. I still am a bit of an emotional person. I guess most people would say, but you know, wearing your heart on your sleeve and all that. But that was definitely me as a child and as a teenager. I reacted to things very emotionally. I think now I can sit here and like, okay, if I can understand where someone's coming from, it better helps me be at peace with that. And you know, not necessarily closure depending on the context, but you know, but yeah, definitely a lot of emotional reactions to the things around me and the things that happened to me growing up.
Yeah. And exactly. I mean, that was the same. Like I said, it wasn't necessarily my first instinct to be that way. I 100% reacted first. But I don't know. When I wanted to stop caring about it, I knew I needed to just understand why they did what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Wes?
I don't think I really cared too much about what was going on around me. I just kind of had my own hobbies that I wanted to be better at. So like my growing up, I can't say it's worse than anyone else's, because like everyone has their own circumstances and how they view it. But to me, I feel like I had a pretty like tumultuous and just kind of not great childhood. And I didn't really want to like think about that too much. So as opposed to like, I want to know why these people are acting like dinguses, it was more like, I'm gonna play more video games and kind of ignore all that. But as I
fuck these people, I'm out.
Right. And as I became older, that's when I finally was able to start kind of pinpointing everything, because I got a degree in communications. It's not too far off from psychology. We focus a little more heavy on like media as opposed to inside the brain, but we still focus on the brain because it's how people buy things, how we communicate to people. And I started to fill in some of the parts like, oh, so the reason this is happening is because this person, leads an X, Y, and Z existence, which has them feeling such a way that they then act upon, like, so as a kid, not so much. As an adult, learning what I've learned has been quite helpful to kind of put that all together, or at least um, pretend to understand it, because you never really know people's motivations, but you can kind of guess.
Yeah. You only really know people as far as they'll tell you. Everything else is just a best guess.
I like that a lot. That's good.
My other favorite one is You're Only the Monster in Their Story.
Ooh, deep cuts. Deep cuts. I love it. Hey, when we come back on the other side of the break, more deep cuts from Bridgette. Is it zesty? Shesty?
Listen, I'll fight you. It's cheesy.
Cheesy. All right. We'll be right back, folks. Welcome back, everyone, to the Life Midwest podcast. On the other side of the break, it's your host, Kevin Palmer and Wes Shirley, and special guest, Bridgette. Someone else say it. Someone else say the last name. Sheezy?
Yes.
Sheezy.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Bridgette Sheezy.
Yes to whom?
Everything.
Yes to whom?
You know what? It's everything. Make it all.
Chisel? Got it.
I am Bridgette Shizzle, Schwizzle, Sheezy. Keep it going. It's fine.
Hey, if you're looking for ways to support us, we do have PayPal that's live, paypal.me/thelifemidwest. If you're looking for free ways to support us, you can always reach out to us at support@thelifemidwest.com. Wes and I really love those emails. We'll share them every week that we get them.
Fuck, I forgot the emails.
You can also reach out to us at any of our socials on any of our major social platforms at The Life Midwest, all one word. And of course, if you're looking for other ways to support us, you can always leave us a review on your favorite listening app.
When is this airing?
This is going to be airing March 26th.
Okay.
Whoa, that's my birthday.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It better be called Bridgette's birthday episode. As like an end title.
All right, I will call it Bridgette's birthday episode.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Special guest Bridgette here is with us, and we have really kind of cut into something pretty great here, actually, as far as psychology and the foundation of it. Always curious when people talk about their careers or like what they major in or what they want to do with their lives, and kind of the foundation of where that comes from. That's always super interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
And your story is no exception, Bridgette. Was there a specialization that you wanted in psychology, or was it just general psychology?
No, I actually did want to get my specialization in sex therapy for a couple different reasons. I wanted to either do it to help people who have experienced sexual assault, people who have experienced those types of situations, because I have experienced those types of situations. I wanted to be able to help those people specifically. That's really where I wanted to start. But I ended up kind of falling back into drug and alcohol rehabilitation. It was a little bit of a safety for me in a weird way because of my background and growing up with alcoholics and drug addicts. I just knew a lot about it already. And I did do my internship in my undergrad in a methadone clinic, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So, yeah, I just had a lot more experience and knowledge in that field. So that's what I ended up doing for about a year. And then The turnaround, the revolving door of patients was a lot. And what was more so than that was the patients who didn't come back because they didn't make it. So I had to step away from it. It was a lot. It was a lot for me to handle.
Yeah. I can only imagine that it is, just because, you build a relationship, you build a rapport with these people,
And when I was there, I was doing intake coordination. So when a person calls in, they get me, and I take down all of their information. I ask them or not a lot, but a fair few questions about their background and some of their experiences. And generally what you'll have is when a person who is seeking help starts to talk to somebody that's going to be a part of the team that's helping, they talk about everything. So yeah, I really got to know these people, even though I wasn't doing their counseling directly. I got to know these people on a very personal level. And when they didn't make it or they didn't come back, it sucked. It was really hard. I think the hardest one was for there was a man who didn't make it. His son would use drugs with him, and went to go do that and found him.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and his son actually called me the day that his dad was supposed to be coming back for his appointment, to tell me what happened and to schedule his appointment.
Wow.
Yeah. I left shortly after that one. That one was the hardest.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
So you've since taken a step away from the psychology field then.
Working with it directly, yes. I do try to keep up with informational information I try to keep up with. I do try to seek out TikToks, videos, TV shows that do focus more around those types of things too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just so that I can be involved in some way. And I do think now that I am getting more older, I do want to get more knowledge in sexual therapy and sex therapy. And I am considering seriously about going into that to some degree.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what do those next steps look like as far as your personally your personal journey goes?
Yeah. So currently, honestly, right now, I am very happy with the job that I'm at. So I think that's going to be more of a focus for me when I'm able to move away from this job. And what I would do is I would look at secondary education. So with an undergrad in psychology, it opens doors, but that's about it. It doesn't open doors to jobs. So it opens doors to furthering your education. And there are certifications that you can get without having to get a master's, which is probably going to be where I look. So I am going to be doing secondary education first. And I would like to do some shadowing of people who are in the field to get a real picture of what it would look like working in that field, to see if it was something that I could maintain without burning myself out again. But yeah, those are really my next two steps.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. So you sounds like you got your game plan laid out though.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So take me through. So I'm not sure how recent that is with the working, directly in a psychology field, but
mm-hmm.
Kind of take me through then through now, however long ago that was.
So it has been a few years. I left the drug and alcohol place, and I actually just I didn't. How can I say this? I left the drug and alcohol place quickly, and I got a very temporary job. I worked at Speedway for a few weeks, and then I did a few years at a local cable company. Awful.
Did it start with a? I won't leave this in. Did it start with a?
Yes.
Oh God.
Yes.
Oh God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Fucking awful. It was
Wes has a lot to say about that company too.
Yeah.
The whole city of Toledo has something to say about that company.
The whole area, this northwestern area of the state of Ohio, and some of southeastern Michigan has something to say about this company.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I think we've been anonymous enough where I might leave this in.
Yeah.
So, okay, awesome. And then after that,
so after that, actually, I left for mental health. I took a step back because that job was wonderful, and it was just great. So I needed to take a grippy sock vacation and then quit. So after that, I took a few months off to focus on my mental health to get it really back to where it needs to be. I got on the right medications, which surprisingly makes a difference.
yeah, who would have thought, right?
Right? Yeah. So after I got all of that really settled, I actually started working with Wes at our company, and it's been amazing. I love it. I really do. I mean, don't get me wrong. Every job has things, but the stark comparison and difference from where I was just at to where I now am is like, I can't explain how nice it is. It's like almost having PTSD that I have to unlearn my triggers from how bad the experience was with the previous company to interact at my now company. And I have to really understand that not everything is going or is planning on trying to do is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
That I have to cover myself against. So that's great. That is amazing. And I honestly wasn't sure I could have that from a company. So yeah, no, I really do like where I am, which is why I am so torn about getting back into psychology, because I really do like my current job.
So in other words, you felt like you were able to do your job without constantly looking over your shoulder.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be a pretty good feeling, though. It sounds like it is.
Well, I will say, my personal experience with that company, I didn't have to worry about I covered my own, don't get me wrong, because I saw how they treated everyone else. So I made sure to cover myself, so I didn't have to worry about that. But that didn't stop many, many, many other things from being wrong, including having to... so I ended up being a universal, like a lead kind of thing, or like, I wasn't a supervisor. I was like the next step down. So I didn't have my own team. I was just like a floor call center person that helped answer questions when the supervisors couldn't get on the phones. That was also awful because decisions would be made without really relaying any type of information to the agents, or us to relay the information to the agents. So fielding that was great. And then, having to give an agent permission not to be called the N-word because a supervisor told her she would have to be and take it because it wasn't considered rudeness, quote unquote, which they did change. They 100% took back once it got to the CEO that they were being told this.
Yikes.
Yeah. I told any agent who discussed it with me that they have my permission to not continue with that call and to professionally disconnect it.
Good for you and good for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because no, I'm not allowing that.
That actually reminds me of a time where I don't know if I ever told Wes this story, but when I was a store manager for a company, I actually kicked a customer out of my store for a similar reason with harassing one of my cashiers. I don't
thank you for doing that, but I don't understand why a company would allow it. It just doesn't make sense to me. And like now the company that I work for, it wouldn't even be a question of whether or not they would allow it. It would be like, dear customer, why do you think this is okay? Like to the customer, right, not to us.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's night and day difference, and it is so much better. And anybody who has figured it out, if you do work there, leave. There are better opportunities for you. It gets better. There's a light at the end of this tunnel, I promise you.
Hashtag it gets better.
Yes. God. And that actually is just general. If you really hate your job and it's awful, mental health priority number one always.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. They're not gonna put your happiness first. You have to.
No.
So.
Unless you get really lucky and find an excellent company. They are out there, but in my experience, they are not common.
So I just want to back up a little bit. Tell me a little bit more about your time that you took for yourself.
Yeah, so about a month prior to it, I did try to. I was feeling really depressed. I guess that's the word I'm going to use for it. Apathetic, I guess, would be the right word. I just didn't care, and then it was just anxiety all the time, every day, all day. And the only way for me to cope with the anxiety was to not care. Those were my only two options. So, but because I do feel like you have a responsibility as an employee to give a company a certain level of performance. I felt like I couldn't do that. So I did tell them that I was going to need to take time off. I did try to get medication and stuff, but the medications weren't working and they wouldn't approve my time off. Like I preemptively was like, hey, I know I'm going to need this time off. I know we have this special exemption paperwork that I could fill out. So how do I go about doing that? I was basically told, technically, we have it written in the handbook that it exists, but we're never going to do it.
Wow.
Yeah. They were like, you would almost just need to have it was like we would have to get presidential approval or CEO approval to do this. So it just will never happen. And I'm like, that's a great resource. So I just didn't come in because I was having a very, very bad night. And it got to the point where I didn't know, honestly, how much longer I could handle myself continuing living at that mindset level, mental health level. So we went to the hospital, or I went to my doctor actually to talk to him about adjusting my medications. And the doctor sent me to the hospital. And the hospital was basically like, here's this paperwork for you to sign so that you can come stay with us for a few days. So we figured this out. Which there are very good programs for this. My experience wasn't the best with the program I was in. So I advocated for myself to get out as soon as possible. But I did use the resources they provided. I got myself an appointment to follow up with a doctor. It was like a week later. They really helped me schedule that. And then I did a little bit. And then I got with that doctor, got my medications back on track. And I was speaking with her for talk therapy. The only issue that I was having was they weren't the right medications. And my then doctor, really felt like I needed to take the medications longer for me to feel the full effect. But it was like 7 months in, and that's too long.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I ended up going to a different provider, and it actually worked out. I moved back down to Toledo. And then I got a different provider in this area and got my medications where they need to be. By the way, shout out to Vyvanse for ADHD stimulants.
Hey, we're not there yet. Calm down.
But no, I that helped most. Like the issue that I was really having is that my ADHD made it so that I really couldn't focus on anything, and that I would have one thought after another thought after another thought after another thought, and I could not stop these thoughts. Like, for example, I was buying a mattress. I went, tried mattresses, bought the mattress, spent the next 4 days waiting for it to be delivered, agonizing over different websites, reading through the different reviews about this mattress, the longevity of this mattress. Like, the comfort, the firmness, like so many hours. My husband literally was like, dude, you need to stop. It was ridiculous. It was unhealthy, but I could not stop. I physically couldn't stop myself from thinking my anxiety thoughts. So Vyvanse really just helped me get control and slow down my thoughts, so that I can pick and choose which ones to have and continue on with, which has made a night and day improvement. Like I legitimately feel like a normal person.
I'm internally cheering for you incredibly loudly because that's a lot of what I suffer through the same. I'm not on Vyvanse, but I do take Adderall for it, and it's a lot like what you're describing though, as far as there's so many channels on the TV that are just being flipped and flipped and flipped and flipped nonstop. And it's like you almost need that stimulant so that you can focus on one thing, and it allows you to focus on that one thing or whatever you want to focus on. It's a stimulant, but it slows you down in a way. And it's really hard to explain, but I know that you get what I'm saying.
I think it's because it stimulates specific part of specific things in your brain, like the chemical releases and stimulates parts of your brain. And because it stimulates those parts, that's why it's called the stimulant. It's not an upper. It's not like a methamphetamine or something. It's just
right.
It stimulates a very specific part. It's the same thing as birth control, even though most women do not use birth control to control birthing. It's 9 times out of 10 to help them with their hormones, to regulate periods, to stop being in ever crazy amounts of pain. So I don't understand why but it's just because that is what it directly does. That is what they're called. Yeah, it's annoying. I don't like it.
Right. I know what you mean though. Yeah. But I definitely feel that. Like I get anxiety when I'm overwhelmed and overstimulated. I just get anxiety because I can't focus on something. And it's like I need to be stimulated so that I can relax in a way. So
it's also like a good example that I've had my more neurotypical friends. It's like when you're following your GPS and you have the radio on, but then you don't know where you're at, so you have to turn the radio down to see your GPS better.
That's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah, like even though your GPS isn't always talking, so you're not always listening to it, you literally just have to turn it down to see your GPS better. It's because you're focusing on it, and you need to eliminate extra stimulus.
Yeah. And people make that joke like, turn down your radio so you can see better. But it's like, no, it's so that your senses aren't as overloaded as they currently are.
Exactly. I am reprioritizing my senses to the thing I want it to focus on.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that sounds like a really great success story for you and for Vyvanse as well.
Again,
but,
OG.
But no, that's great. That's great. So what do you think's next for you then, Bridgette?
I have some general plans. Like my husband and I have been talking about like end game, probably moving out of the country, and because he can, with his type of job, he can work anywhere. So we have talked about that. We've talked about also me possibly even, this is where I'm also stuck on, but being a stay-at-home wife, which I like the idea of it. I'm not mad about the idea of it at all. Not having to work, even if I am mostly just focusing on keeping up with the house cleaning, not having to do as much customer interaction would not be a bad thing to me. So that, honestly, that's it. That's working the current job as long as we really want me to, just building savings, honestly. And then it would be me going to being a stay-at-home wife so that I can take care of other stuff. We have also talked about, which I'm close now, and I'm kind of excited for it. We've talked about kids, whether or not we would want one. And we kind of have talked about wanting one. The number one, not a child, just one. And we've talked about trying to look into that, like starting that journey when we like really hit kind of like our 30s. Like looking into like our fertility and what would next steps be, and just like trying the whole thing au naturel and whatnot.
Sure.
But yeah, we're not there yet.
What's your vote, boy or girl?
I'm gonna sound like a woman. So I had this dream. I had this dream that my husband and I had a baby, and it was the most beautiful baby boy that I've ever seen in my entire life. And I don't even like kids, so for me to feel that way means something. But it was a baby boy, and like I would love a daughter. In fact, I already have a name picked out if I have a daughter. But I saw the boy, so I kind of want to know what the boy would look like. And like actually see the boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sounds like you're struggling. Maybe you might end up having 2 then.
Nope.
Everyone's always so set on their number.
Not that hard of a struggle. No. So the one is really like, that's why I'm saying we're still talking about it, because the more I learn about what women go through or what people go through during pregnancy, I don't want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The most simple answer. I don't want to do that. Did you know that right after you give birth, like push a child, and not a tiny one usually, like six and up pound club, big for the area they're coming out. And what they do after you've pushed this life out of you is they come over to you and push down on your stomach. Like push down on your uterus to make sure all the stuff gets out.
Oh boy.
I have heard it's almost as painful as the contractions themselves, if not more.
Jeez.
No, thank you.
Every time the subject of pregnancy and like giving birth comes up, I feel like I always learn something new every time. I don't know about Wes.
Now, I will stipulate that I have heard some women say that that was not their experience with their pregnancy, so it might be hospital specific, but I've heard it from more than one woman, so I'm not trusting it.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah. No. Mm-hmm. Mm.
So
Did you know that you can also have an orgasm while you're giving birth?
That I did know.
Yeah.
Yes.
I learned it, so I didn't know it like from health class. Sorry, what were you saying, Wes?
I forgot. I'm just in shock.
Oh, you did not know that?
I did not.
Yeah. I mean, on top of like pooping and peeing on top of your baby while it's pushing out of you, you can also
I unfortunately did know that.
Coming out
I
of
knew
you.
that as
And
well.
now I know about it again. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. But yeah, no, you can actually
need to
come out
put
your
it-
baby.
A trigger warning on this episode.
They should name their baby Squirtle.
Oh God. Oh God.
Listen, if you're out there and you're listening to this, I'm sorry, but you it's a good name. You should do it. It's great. Please.
I'm gonna get us right the hell out of here and into the shout outs. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been really fun. No, it actually has been really fun. It's been great to have you on, Bridgette. Who in the whole wide world would you like to shout out on your birthday episode?
On my birthday episode, I want to shout out President Zelensky. Like, I know we're not going to get political. That's fine tonight. But 100% still him. He's the... Fuck everyone else. He's the only shout out I think he's needed.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Wes, how about you, buddy?
I definitely have to give a shout out to mothers again, like always. After hearing Bridgette's take on what happens when you become a mother.
Oh yeah.
So
God.
all of you out there who have had your children come out and they push down on your stomach and you had an orgasm and shit and piss yourself, I just want to give a shout out to you, because what the fuck.
Thanks for taking that L for the whole world.
You could have adopted, but you didn't. Thank you, moms.
Anybody else, man?
No. I'm sticking with one this time, just like Bridget.
Okay.
Hold on.
right.
Can I also add that you mothers who adopt are mothers.
Oh, for sure. Sorry. No, we don't want
100%.
to minimize any motherhood out there.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I would like to echo the sentiment of shouting out mothers. I also want to shout out ADHD medication in general. Just another fine example of somebody
Yes.
who lives and has a better life because of it. So.
Shiny example.
I think a lot of I know a lot of those medications get used and abused. I know that there's a lot of despite even with the more tried and true medications, I know that there's a lot of people who still feel nervous about that medicine, but it really does help people live a better life. And
I mean, with anything, when used properly.
Yeah, when used properly, for sure. Folks, I think we're gonna leave it there unless Bridgette's gotten anything else.
No, thank you guys for having me on. This was fun. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and talking about some pretty touchy things today too. I mean, not everyone can do that, so props to you.
Yeah, I don't shy away from controversy because I don't really think anything should be controversial.
Or deep cuts.
I feel like it should just be a conversation.
I also feel that way. We should be able to talk about whatever we want.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, there are wrong opinions, but I still feel like it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Folks, we could probably make this a 2-hour episode, but we're not. Just because so much good content is coming out of this. So we're going to get out of here. But again, don't forget to reach out to us at support@thelifemidwest.com. We also have a website I forgot to mention after the break. It is thelifemidwest.com, all one word, no spaces. You can also reach out to us at our major social platforms at The Life Midwest, or leave us a review on your favorite listening app. Until then, folks, we will see you next Saturday.
Wait, hold on. What was that email one more time?
Oh, the email is support@thelifemidwest.com. Yeah, you're welcome. Folks, we will see you next Saturday and every Saturday here on the Life Midwest podcast. Take care.